So this month's spotlight is on Mara Musso, founder and director of and yoga teacher at Holistic View. So welcome, Mara. It's lovely to have you here today. Uh, can I start by, you know, having you share with us how you got into yoga and what inspired you to become a yoga teacher?
Yes, of course. I took my very first yoga class in Italy when I was 18, and I still remember it as if it was yesterday. The teacher, a Belgian lady, started the class with a talk about how we never seem to live in the present moment. We either live in the past or in the future, which sums up beautifully Patanjali's yoga teachings. And when I moved to the UK the following year, it took me a while to find a teacher I was comfortable with. I eventually found Barbara Davis, who used to teach in a church hall in North Finchley. And what struck me back then was that no matter the mood I was in when I went to the yoga class, I always came out of the class feeling more balanced. So if I was feeling a little hyper or agitated before the class, it would calm me down. And if I went in feeling a bit low, it would raise my energy. I was fascinated with yoga and wanted to learn more. So a few years later, I enrolled on a 2-year teacher training course with the BWI, the British Wheel of Yoga, which is the largest yoga organizations in the UK. Foundation courses did not exist back then. And when I went for my interview, I told the tutor that I had no interest in becoming a yoga teacher and that I was only intending to do the course to learn more about yoga. As part of the course was practical, we were encouraged to set up a yoga class quite early on during the training. And I taught my very first yoga class in a community center in Holborn in November 1994, and I loved it. I was immediately hooked, and I haven't stopped teaching since.
Wow. Okay, that's an interesting journey so far there. So tell me, how did Holistic View come about?
So I have been teaching yoga full time as my only source of income since 1997. So running my own business is the norm for me. And when the pandemic hit, I lost all my work overnight. I was teaching up to 12 yoga classes a week in my home yoga studio in North London, and all of that stopped on that
Yeah.
20th of March 2020 when the UK went into lockdown.
Mm,
And I remember feeling quite numb in those early days. It felt surreal.
mm.
On social media, yoga teachers were talking about how good Zoom was for teaching classes online. I'd never even heard of Zoom. So that was the beginning of my very steep learning curve. Um, with a friend, Profula, um, Holistic You, my online company, was born in the summer of 2020. There was still so much we didn't know back then about the pandemic. But Holistic You was born out and because of the pandemic and the need to offer a new way to practice yoga.
Mm.
I wanted to reach beyond yoga. So this is why the word holistic was used.
Right.
I knew that I could reach more people if I offer more than just yoga.
Yeah.
For this reason, we have breathing and mindfulness, relaxation, chair, desk stretching. I have some students who attend regularly, but who wouldn't be able to attend a yoga class.
Mm, yeah.
For example, the chair stretching classes are accessible to everyone, including the elderly, people with reduced mobility, and so are the breathing and mindfulness and the relaxation.
Mm,
And then a new door opened when I started to offer classes to companies
mm,
who were looking to help their employees to cope with the challenges of home working and the lockdown. So I started teaching online yoga classes to some small companies. And then in the new year, I devised a 30-minute well-being session, which has been a real hit. It combines targeted stretches with breathing and mindfulness.
Okay.
And the feedback from the employees has been extraordinary, with 100% saying they would recommend it, and 100% say that they would like their employer to offer our classes regularly.
Okay. Wow.
It is wonderful to see an employer who listens and is able to respond to their employees' needs and support them. Sadly, I've also found that many employers rarely listen to their staff, which is a real shame.
Mm.
And a year later, I decided to give the company a new name, Holistic View,
Okay.
and a facelift with a brand new logo. And the new logo feels very personal to me, as it's based on a drawing that my partner did for me 20 odd years ago, and which encapsulates what Holistic View stands for, which is cultivating that inward-looking attitude, that turning of the senses inwards, which is where the path of yoga and meditation begins.
Mm. Fantastic. That sounds great. I can clearly see that you're passionate about what you do. So tell me a little bit more about what motivates you.
Well, yoga is my life. I have practiced yoga for pretty much all of my adult life. And what motivates me is seeing the smiles on people's faces. It's knowing that the holistic practices, not just yoga, but also the mindfulness, the breathing, etc., can have a very profound effect on people. In some cases, they can really turn people's lives around. Of course, you need to practice them regularly to see the results. Over the years, I have witnessed some amazing results in some of my students, which is very humbling.
Okay. So wow. Now you have me, and I'm sure all the audience watching kind of intrigued. Tell me a little bit more about some of these amazing results.
Of course, I'm happy to share a couple of those stories. I think the most incredible story is from a middle-aged lady who used to attend my yoga classes almost 20 years ago. She had problems with her breathing, including reduced lungs capacity, asthma, and was on a lot of medications when she started attending my classes. She found my classes challenging at first. Back then, I was in my mid-30s and I used to teach strong Ashtanga-based classes. And these are very dynamic practices characterized by sequences, like the sun salutations, the vinyasa. With the appropriate modifications and alternatives, the lady would turn up every week and participated in as much as she was able to. She became one of the regulars, and then one day she approached me to tell me that she went to see her consultant and that he was very pleased. She was better, and he was able to reduce her medication. She was clearly delighted about this.
Mm.
She persevered with her practice. In fact, I think she started attending up to 3 yoga classes a week, not all with me. And it's only some time later, when I was able to have a proper conversation with her, that she told me that her lungs capacity went from 50% to 90%,
Wow.
and she was off her medication. She also told me that she knew it was thanks to the yoga, because if she stopped doing yoga, even just for a couple of weeks,
Mm.
she could feel some of her breathing problems resurfacing. She knew that she needed to keep up her practice to stay well.
Mm.
And more recently, a lady that I've never met in person, but who started to attend some of my classes on Zoom, including the breathing and mindfulness class, which I teach every Wednesday evening, told me that she needed to have a hospital procedure but they couldn't go ahead with it because her blood pressure was too high.
Okay.
This went on for several months. She kept going into hospital only to be turned back because her blood pressure was too high. Now, the breathing practices that I teach on Wednesday evening, although they are very accessible to everyone, they have a powerful effect on the parasympathetic nervous system. I think people often dismiss them as just a bit of breathing, but they are indeed very effective, and also they're easy to learn. So, on her most recent visit to the hospital, she told me that she was able to use one of the breathing techniques effectively to lower her blood pressure to such a degree that they were able to go ahead with the procedure. Isn't that incredible?
Wow. Wow.
Of course, the hospital staff wanted to know where she'd learned the technique, and she told them on Zoom.
Oh, that's a fantastic story, and I'd expect it's validation for everything that you do. Um, I'm sure that this kind of thing inspires you to keep doing what you so
It
clearly love to
does,
do. So,
absolutely.
so what's next? What's is your hope for the future?
Well, my most immediate hope is that Holistic View becomes sustainable as a company, which means that its existence is not in jeopardy.
Mhm.
I am extremely lucky that I have some wonderful students who've been incredibly supportive and have been able to recommend me to some of their friends and family. And word of mouth is still the most effective form of advertisement. But with the expansion into online classes, I am increasing my online marketing to get my message out to a wider audience. If I succeed in doing this, then I hope that the company can help foster a worldwide community of like-minded individuals. We need healing on so many levels, on a personal level, but also on a larger scale. Our natural world needs healing. Yoga and meditation have always been very healing to the people that embrace them and integrate them into their lives. We can't have healing outside if we don't heal within. And my wish is that Holistic View will play its little part in this.
Fantastic, fantastic. I mean, that's a wonderful aim, and I'm sure with your skills and experience and frankly a warm and embracing character that you clearly show, that you'll have no doubt achieving that. So
Thank you.
right now, how can people find you and get in touch with you?
Okay, well, my online classes can be booked through the Holistic View website, which is holistic-view.co.uk, and you can join regardless of where you are in the UK or abroad.
Mhm.
And my small group yoga classes take place in my home yoga studio in New Southgate in North London. So my email is mara@holistic-view.co.uk. My mobile number is 07905 509 and 869.
That's fantastic. I'm sure we'll put that up on the screen.
Thank you
You know,
very much.
before we go, that's fine. Um, so all this last so thanks, Mara. It's actually been hugely insightful, and knowing from my own point of view the importance that activities like yoga, meditation, and stress management techniques play in the overall well-being of people, especially in these kind of times. I certainly celebrate personally all that you do, and I'm pretty sure that everyone that comes across you does. So I wish you all the success in reaching all those goals that you're reaching for. I know that though all of those who pass through your classes will certainly be so much better for it. So thanks for joining me on this session, and I wish you all the success.
Thank you very much, Laurence. It was a pleasure. Namaste.
Pleasure. Namaste.